Hello my friends, and welcome to the Rise of the Tomb Kings DLC. I'm with Turin today. What's going on, man?
Hey, not much. Just excited to test out some of these units.
Yeah, so we're jumping into some custom battles here and just seeing how the meta is kind of going to shake out. Like, obviously we don't know everything about the faction yet. There's going to be a lot of time to test and play, but we want to do some of those testing now just to see how units match up against some of the more iconic factions and units in the game. So overall, Turin, from what we've seen so far, we played a bunch of games. What do you feel about the Tomb Kings? How do you feel about them overall as a faction? Do you feel like they're versatile? Do you feel like they're going to be powerful in the multiplayer metagame? What do you think about them overall?
Yeah, I do think that the Tomb Kings are going to be a pretty powerful faction. They kind of have elements from a multitude of factions that make them pretty good. So, you know, they have some very powerful unit compositions. For example, they have a regiment of renown of skeleton archers, the Blessed Legion, who has armor sundering. So they have their very own regiment of renown, essentially like the Rusty Arrows, which is obviously one of the biggest elements of the Greenskin success, in my opinion. They have construct play, so you can use the big constructs and the necrotext to, build around them. They have the strengths of the vampire counts in being, causing fear and terror on a lot of their units, but, being unbreakable, of course. Can crumble, but still it takes a while. But on that same note, they have ranged units, so it's a very diverse faction, has access to some good lores of magic, like Lore of Light, even though Nets of Amnitok did get nerfed. It's actually single target unless you overcast it, in which it's the same as before. But yeah, I think they have a lot of potential. I think they're going to be a higher tier faction that tends to be kind of the way of things when these new DLCs first drop, but it'll take a couple months to really see how they pan out in the hands of competitive players, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at how versatile the faction is overall. Their infantry, their frontline infantry isn't particularly good, although Tomb King can certainly, like if you give them some chevrons, they can certainly hold out against some of the factions maybe like Skaven and some of the lower armored factions. They can certainly trade relatively cost effectively, but overall, I mean, they've just got a lot of stuff going for them. They've got healing, which is pretty big in and of itself. They've got that Ushabti summon in the back lines that can really screw up artillery or screw up range units and prevent them from firing for a long time. They've got chariot play, although their chariots don't have a lot of AP. So that's one of those units that you would typically think are going to be amazing versus dwarfs. We haven't actually tested it a whole lot, but we're not exactly sure if the chariots are going to be amazing versus the dwarfs in general, just because of the low AP value. But, I mean, they just have a bunch of monsters. They have the healing. They have the necrotext that can heal the constructs as well. Overall, they feel pretty strong. And the fear and terror, obviously, is a big thing. When your entire faction is unbreakable, immune to fear, immune to terror, it's a pretty big deal. They can be a little bit squishy on the front line, but overall, I think they're a pretty strong faction.
Yeah, I would certainly be inclined to agree. I mean, they're going to be putting a lot of credence on their, their big constructs and supporting units. Their infantry, like you said, are skeletons, and I think Nehekara warriors are their tier 2, essentially, and, they're okay. Kind of like a little bit weaker than battle pilgrims in that same spectrum, and then they have, of course, the Tomb Guard, who only have 50 armor, so even their tankiest infantry is very lightly armored, in the grand scheme of things, so they're going to be putting a lot of marbles on their Ushabti and, big, scary dudes in the back line. And, of course, the Lore of Nehekara, which is kind of a faction-wide heal. It's just like Invocation of Nehek in that doesn't heal quite as much, but it heals your entire army for periods of time with Realm of Souls and also the triggering of casting abilities. And it'll be interesting to see. That's going to kind of make their skeletons a little bit more durable. So I'm excited to see how they pan out, man. It's going to be a good time.
No question about it. I think that on the infantry engagement, Tomb Kings are pretty squishy. I mean, you look at across the board, they just all have incredibly low armor. They melt like butter. Really low defense on some of these units.
Yes.
So they are going to be relying on those constructs and the big monsters to really make the big impact. But that's not all that surprising. If you could pick like 1 or 2 units in the roster that you've been most impressed with in your battles so far, what do you think is going to make the biggest waves in multiplayer? What do you think people are going to be picking?
Well, my favorite units probably so far have been the Ushabti Grapos. I really like them quite a bit. The fact that they're so fast. I mean, they're like these really quick artillery stations. They have 54 movement speed. Not quite as much as like heavy cav, but pretty close. They're solid in melee, 65 weapon strength with, pretty good armor piercing value. So even if they do get caught up in melee, they can be pretty useful when they run out of ammo. They can stick and move. 255 range means they can counter artillery pieces. Well, to an extent, of course, unless it's like a cannon blasting them in the face. But just great utility out of these guys. I think they're going to be incredibly strong. And aside from that, I really like the Blessed Legion. Obviously, having an armor sundering missile unit is very, very good. So those are probably the 2 that stand out to me the most. And regular Ushabti, especially after that game. Well, I don't want to give any spoilers.
Yeah, we won't spoil that just yet.
Yeah, I don't know in which order you're going to post the videos, but there was a game where Indie Pride used the Ushabti very well against one of the old world factions. So you guys will have to stay tuned to see that. But that was eye-opening for sure, I would say.
Yeah, and I think Ushabti, in terms of cost effectiveness, are pretty impressive. I mean, hold on, where are they at? Yeah, 9. Did that get changed? I thought it was 800.
Yeah, no, 900. I think they've been the entire time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, anyway, they've got AP and they've got bonus versus infantry, and you support them with some of the squishy stuff like Nehekaran warriors in the front line, and you put Ushabti behind them, they're going to do well for you. So that's another unit that I think is going to be worthy of testing. But what we're going to do here at the beginning is test out, I think, one of the more iconic matchups. People love seeing the heavy cav, seeing those smack heads together. I think we're going to try out the Necropolis Knights versus Demigryph Knights. And so before we jump into it, I mean, you obviously know how this is going to go anyway, but looking at the stats of the units, how do you feel like... we can press start battle and then jump into the battle itself, but how do you feel like this is going to go? Like, what do you think each unit really offers?
Yeah, so I mean, the Necropolis Knights are the halberd cav unit that are available to the Tomb Kings, and I think that they're going to have a little bit of an advantage, not in the direct matchup versus enemies, but in terms of against lords, because they have similar stats in terms of their melee attack, melee defense, those kind of things. They don't have, like, I think their weapon strength is pretty actually close to the Demigryph Knights, but what really sets them apart is the fact that they have poison. So if they're fighting against like a Karl Franz or a Boris Todbringer or Azag or any of those guys, they're going to be a little bit better at pinning lords. However, in a straight duelist situation, they will do well versus Demigryph Knights, but the fact that they have lower armor, a lower charge bonus, and some of those other variables, I think, will obviously give the edge to the Demigryph Knights in a straight up fight. But the poison also being unbreakable due to the fact that they're Tomb Kings are some variables that shouldn't be overlooked, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they have a little bit extra utility when compared to the Demigryph Knights because they are unbreakable and they do cause that fear. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are really useful things. Demis cause fear as well, I believe. But just the ability to not rout is really big. Of course, they have to deal with crumble. They have to deal with the fact that they're going to be losing HP. If they're losing combat, they're losing that extra degen aura and all that. That could be a problem for them. But yeah, in a straight up fight, they're probably going to lose to Demis. I think some people looked at the stats and said that, oh no, they're going to crush Demis in 1v1 because they have poison stuff. Don't think that's accurate. But at the same time, though, they have some of that extra utility, especially with the poison. I mean, poison is so strong. I think it might have even gotten nerfed from Total War Warhammer 1 to Total War Warhammer 2. But I mean, look at this. Like, you lower their AP damage, you lower their weapon damage, you lower their missile damage, you lower their speed, which is incredibly important when a general like Franz is trying to disengage from a fight. Like, all that stuff adds up to really be pretty powerful, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think poison is going to be pretty great. And if you just look at a raw stat comparison, there are 32, 31, and 50 compared to 32, 30, and 52. So pretty darn similar. AP values in the Demigryph Knights being 35 with a bonus for large of 25. And on the Necropolis Knights, let's see. So AP is 33 with a bonus for large of 28. So I think they actually have a little bit more there. But again, armor is a very important stat. And even though they do have armor piercing, there's still a portion of their damage that isn't armor piercing. So I think that in conjunction with a little bit more charge bonus is going to favor the Demis. So you want to start with the ones on the far side over here on your left?
My left or your left?
It'll be your left.
Yeah. We'll do that one?
All right. Yep. Let's do it. Now we get to see the glorious showdown between... And it looks like the ground's pretty even too, so there shouldn't be any variables with that. So.
And you know what? As much as I love Demis, I have to say that the Necropolis Knights are way cooler. I mean, they're one of the coolest looking units in the game for sure.
You can see the charge. Look at that damage on the charge. They took a beating there, and I think that's, again, a lot of that is the armor. So on the Necro Knights, we have 50 weapon strength with 17 non-armor piercing damage. So a lot of that non-AP damage is going to be mitigated by that armor. So poison's helping, for sure.
I think as the Demis, like the longer this fight goes, the Demis will get a bigger and bigger lead here as they start surrounding the models. Because off that charge, it's pretty powerful. And I was in cinematic mode there, so we'll see it again in the next test. So I kind of screwed up there, but it's fine. We'll see how massive, like the HP for both units, but especially the Necropolis Knight just drops like crazy right off the charge.
Yeah.
And absolutely. So Demis at the end of this fight here are gonna have 18 models. I mean, kind of stompy, but in terms of health, there's not a whole lot left. Of course, you can support them with Lore of Life. A regrowth there would make a Demis lose very few models, I think.
Right. But just like the Tomb Kings could potentially, be perpetually healing. So if they're spamming their Lore of Nehekar spells, it's gonna be healing these.
Well, no, they're constructs though, so they won't get the heal. They have to be supported by the Necrotex.
Oh, so the constructs actually don't get heals from the Lore of Nehekar?
Correct.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Good to know. And now we got the double clash here.
Look at that, dude! Right off the charge, they get smacked.
Yeah, they have less models too. They have 18 compared to the 24 of the Demis, so a little bit more healing capital there.
Yeah, at the same time though, the more models means that 3 or 4 Demis can surround one model and kind of start carving it up. And I think that's one reason why they get surrounded and kind of cut to pieces. The more models can actually benefit you in some ways. In terms of healing, it's worse. but in terms of actual surrounding a unit and getting multiple units attacking one at once, it's pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, it feels pretty good to see Empire win at something.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while, man. Like, they were so strong in game 1, and I feel like it didn't even really get a nerf bat, right? Like, it was just kind of the natural progression of the game into game 2. They kind of fell by the wayside with the changes to combat, and it's good to see them coming back a little bit here. And Demigryphs are certainly going to be one of those units that you'll see in multiplayer for sure. I mean, they're just strong.
They're great. They actually did get hit with a pretty hard nerf bat in game 1. I know greatswords used to just be obscenely powerful.
Oh, and yeah, at launch, oh my god, Demigryph Knights were
and
ridiculously
greatswords. They were all like really jacked. Greatswords I think had like 4 or 5 more melee attack and defense in both categories, which was a huge difference.
Yeah, greatswords were super overperforming in game 1, at least at launch for sure.
Those guys are beasts, man.
Yeah.
We're doing the Grail Knights. Is that the next on the slate here?
Yeah, I think that makes some sense, man.
Yeah, the Heroes of Bretonnia. And also, guys, coming with the Tomb Kings DLCs, a bunch of balance changes for all the old world and pretty much every faction of the game. So there have been minor buffs to some of the factions. Obviously, the patch notes will be coming out, so I assume as soon as that's out, we'll make sure to share it with you guys.
Yeah, so Demis swept that, not surprising, but again, I think there's some extra utility that the Necropolis Knights will have. Like we said, they're better at pinning down a lord or a big target with the poison, and I think they might even be better at like kind of surrounding a unit and preventing it from escaping that way. Like actually the models blocking a unit from running away. I think it might be pretty good for that as well.
Yeah, I agree. One thing to also take into account though is Demis do have 74 speed and the Necropolis Knights only have 66. So there is some give and take there with the poison, but again, the poison will slow down someone quite substantially. What is the percentage of slow on poison? I think it's like
24%, I believe.
Let me look.
Yeah, it's 24%.
Yeah. That's pretty big. So again, that will compensate for that little speed difference with those guys.
So we're testing Necropolis Knights with halberds. The halberd variant, that's a kind of important point to make, that I don't think we're going to be seeing the regular Necropolis Knights a whole lot. It's kind of like the Demi situation, where there's really no reason to bring the Lance version. I think it might be the same with the Necropolis Knights. You do have more staying power and more melee attack, actually substantially more melee attack and defense with the regular Necropolis Knights, but you lose out on the bonus for Slarge and the ability to kill stuff like Demis and Grails. So I think you'll typically see the halberd variant a lot more than the normal one. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, I guess it's very similar to the Demigryph Knight situation. Again, there might be very select niche situations in which you want the Lance version, simply to take on someone like Dwarves who doesn't have large threats that are going to be countercharging them. But for the most part, I think you're just going to be seeing the halberds. Let's also, while we're on this test, let's make sure to get one of these Grail Knights in the Lance formation. We can test that bad boy out. So.
Yeah, I don't really try it out against Cavalry, because I think the idea is, well, what are the buffs from Lance formation again? What does it give you?
So you get acceleration, charge bonus. So the charge bonus will be pretty substantial, and the debuffs are only to your speed and missile parry, so it shouldn't be too pertinent here. So we'll find out, man. And do you want to test the same side again, the far left?
Sure.
Let's do it. I believe in the Knights of Bretonnia.
Again, I imagine Grails are going to win. I think we were looking at the stats, and they might have gotten an AP buff. I'm not entirely sure exactly what they got, but they do seem better overall. Off the charge, less damage than the Demis, but certainly as we start progressing further into this fight, I think Grails will take a commanding lead here. Ideally, you don't really want to be sending in Necropolis Knights 1v1 against the Cavalry. You more want to support them with something else. Maybe get the charge block to the Cav first, then you can send them in, and they'll do very well there. They're kind of like bodyguards for your back lines rather than a super offensive unit, I think.
Yeah, to an extent, for sure. And, I think depending on how you use your Lords of Magic, because Lord of Nehekara has a ton of dirt cheap spells that are, pretty substantial buffs. Like, they have one that gives 44% physical resist. They have one that augments AP damage quite a bit on melee attacks. So I think that if you have, Lord of Nehekara, for example, and you are spamming those buffs on a group, versus Grail Knights, it would really make this a very tight match, if not, put it in the tide of the Necropolis. But yeah, for the most part, I 100% agree. The Tomb Kings are going to be, a pretty defensive faction. I mean, the Ushabti Great Bows with a good range, they have the Rusty Arrows, they have some artillery options. I don't see them being too aggressive. They have low charge bonuses, and for the most part, they're going to be a little bit turtly, I would say.
Yeah, well, the problem with the Lore of Nehekara, I think, is that why would I bother bringing that and getting that 44% damage resistance? Like, that's good for sure. But I could just, Fate of Buna your Grail Knight with Lore of Death, and that's
exactly.
And I think that's kind of a problem with the design of Fate of Buna right now, period. I think it's, kind of, it might be too strong. Like, just the idea that, oh, I can take your most expensive cavalry unit, or maybe expensive unit on the field, and just say, good night, sweet prince, Grail Knights are dead now. Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, Fate of Boon is pretty obscene for sure. I mean, it's just like a one-button delete. And I haven't, in the games we played, Ark in the Black, who is one of the lords, I definitely think he's one of the more competitive options, like we had agreed on for the most part. And he has Fate of Boon, and it was extremely powerful in like every game. I don't know if it got any nerfs. Again, we'll see when we get the patch notes. But yeah, Death is just so good, and Spirit Leech is like incredibly powerful. I mean, they just have so many...
you just bring those two spells, and you can kind of delete the Lord is a bit excessive. Like, you don't actually delete them, but if you keep casting it throughout the course of a battle, that will rack up and pay dividends in the late game for sure. And then with Fate of Buna, I mean, yeah, you are basically deleting... I mean, it makes units like Dragon Princes of Calidor, it makes units like Grail Knights kind of obsolete, unless you decide to bring Lore of Life and bring Regrowth to counteract, which you can absolutely do. There is counterplay there.
Sure.
But it still makes me think that, I don't know, I feel like Fate of Buna is just kind of a silly spell right now.
And at least not everyone has access to death, so...
Yeah, that's true. So you don't have to worry about that every single game, but
yeah.
it just makes Dragon Princes so sad because they lose their martial prowess, and then good night. Like, what do?
Yeah.
They just kind of die.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal against the Hiles, for sure. They're one of the factions that really suffer quite a bit. Oh man, look at this. This is actually, looks like it was... we'll see the end model count. So these guys are at... Grail Knights are at about 1900 HP. The other ones ended at 1600, about the exact same. So we'll see if they're a little bit healthier. Now, it looks like they're actually going to drop low. Maybe a little bit less effective.
Yeah, they're doing better right here, but I believe the Crumble's going to hit in real quick, and then once that happens... Oh, they're down to 18. I don't know why they're doing better over here, but...
Yeah, because Italian Spartacus and I also did a testing video, and the lance formation actually worked pretty effectively. I don't know. Maybe, it's just kind of roll of the dice, right? It depends on how you get enveloped and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, you can see the Necropolis Knights are probably going to win this one. 13 down to 10.
Yeah, they might rout. Grail Knights might rout.
Yeah, some treachery. And yeah, you can see that the Necropolis Knights actually even got a chevron from laying such a beating there.
And yeah, there's a teeny tiny heal. I can't imagine actually change stats.
Yeah.
I don't think that's big enough.
But, so yeah, just don't put them in lance formation, I guess.
I never see it in multiplayer. I'd be surprised to see anyone let that out of me.
It looks so cool, though.
It does. It does, but it just doesn't seem that useful.
It's just soul crushing, man. It's missing out on how awesome that is.
So yeah, I think Grail Knights are certainly gonna win in a 1v1 fight.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely, man. Well, that was a good test, and hopefully that gives you guys a bit of a gauge of things. Against Blood Knights, I think Blood Knights would really just stomp out the Necropolis Knights. Pretty similar to like how the Grail Knights did, so it's a little bit redundant for that, I would imagine. But
and they have a much cheaper heal spell, and Curse of Undeath and all that will be giving them some support for sure.
Absolutely, man.
And the fact that they can bring models back is, I mean, that's one of the reasons why they cost so much, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, absolutely. Let me actually go to Tomb Kings, because I want to double check the Lore of Net card to make sure. So the ability is called the Restless Dead. So whenever you cast, resurrect dead combatants. So does it say anything about not target if undead? So okay, so it has to be undead, like you said. So yeah, I guess
they're classified as constructs, so they're not going to get healed.
Yeah, so you can get the Nehekar Horseman and the Chariot. Oh, you could resurrect a Chariot. Wouldn't that be something to see? Like a Chariot just rising from the sands?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't really put animations in for that. It would have been nice, for sure. It would have been hard to do, and that's why they didn't do it. But
yeah, it's probably not cost effective. No. But yeah, the other guys are considered constructs, so they're not going to get those goodies, unfortunately.
Yeah, seeing a Blood Knight and his horse like crawl their way out of the ground would be so cool.
Oh man, that would be so cool.
It also doesn't make any sense, because it's not like a Blood Knight's going to be buried at some random, like, under Ulthuan or something, but yeah, that would be cool. Alright, so what else do you want to test?
So now let's go ahead and, I think the people want to see the Ushabti. So let's do Ushabti versus Black Orcs. And then let's see. Yeah, we'll do Ushabti versus Black Orcs. So I'm going to bring 3 Black Orcs.
Just straight up, or do we want to put some chaff in front?
So yeah, we can actually bring 2 Ushabti, and then 3 Ushabti, and then 1 group of skeletons. So the traditional format in which you're probably going to see Ushabti used is, very similar to Minotaurs and things like that, in which you saturate them with low-tier Ungor spears or things like that. So I think having some skeletons to kind of support them. So we'll have 2 groups that are just straight up fights, so you can see the raw armor piercing and how they can take a beating. And then we'll have them face off against Black Orcs with the skeletons, and you guys will get a gauge of it.
Okay, so
that's a similar cost.
Should I do 2 of each? Like, so 2 with skeletons in front and 2 without?
Oh yeah, we could do 4. So I can bring 4 Black Orcs, and we could do like a 2 and 2. I like that. That'll do.
That'll do, pig.
Yeah, and if we do it this way, we probably don't need to necessarily test the Harganeth. Black Orcs are already very strong, so I think
Yeah.
that should be. That should
I
be
think
pretty
that'll give us a good indication of how they match up for sure.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, what he means by saturate is basically you plot that meat shield in front, whether it's a skeleton, whether it be a zombie or whatever, and then monstrous infantry performs much better when they don't have to take a charge and they don't have to take all the damage from the enemy infantry. So if you kind of plop them in the middle of a infantry line with some support, they're going to perform a lot better because they have the reach and the AoE attacks to be able to hit stuff further back where they're not actually taking damage. So that's probably the way you want to utilize them to their fullest potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar to, like, you know, how people used to use skeletons and cryptors back in the day, or minotaurs and ungors, and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, the boys are ready. We're
Working
ready
on
to
my
party, brother.
formation. We're gonna go like that, and then
Black Orcs are such a cool unit.
yes, they are.
50 weapon strength is. I was so happy when they got buffed up from 44.
One of the few redeeming qualities about green skins in general are the black orcs because they look awesome.
So let's test the Black Orcs without the skeletons right now. So we'll just test the Ushabti on this side here.
All right.
We can do 2 at a time, probably.
Yeah, we'll do both.
So hopefully, let me get up this lip right here. There's a little bit of a lip. So the Black Orcs just need to waddle over that little ravine. But yeah, Black Orcs do have a little bit, their melee defense is a little bit low. So if you just look at Ushabti's stats, they're rocking, you know, a lot of monsters units in general have like pretty low combat stats or, you know, things like that. But the Ushabti aren't bad. I mean, 23, 35, and they do have a bonus versus infantry, so they're going to definitely shine against infantry, whereas with their low melee attack, they won't be as effective against other monsters.
Yeah, it's very low melee attack for sure. But I mean, when you look at weapon strength and the bonus, what's their bonus for infantry? 8 maybe?
I think it's 5 actually. I think it's
5.
Like 5
Okay, yeah, it's 5. All right, you ready to do the test?
Yeah, so I'm doing the Black Orcs. They're charging your Ushabti over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Do you want me to send in the Orcs against the skeletons as well?
No, we'll just do this test first. I love the Ushabti animations. When they get in there and start doing the spins and the jumping and all that, it's like they just kind of explode into this orgy of violence, and it's really satisfying to watch.
Oh yeah, they're cool. They're so cool. Black Orcs are doing pretty well though. But again, they cost 200 or 300 more. And the Ushabti are much faster, right? So you could stick and move with the Ushabti, move around the battlefield, get to their back line a little bit easier than like a Black Orc unit could with their 29 movement speed. So there is that variable to take into account here.
I like Ushabti. Overall, I feel like they're just good.
Yeah.
They're not amazing in a straight-up fight necessarily, but their cost and their maneuverability and everything together just, I feel like it's pretty good.
Absolutely, I agree. And the next test that you guys see, you're going to be seeing skeletons and Ushabti here. So this is a relatively similar cost. That's going to be 1,200 gold versus 1,150. So this is actually a more practical engagement that you might actually see, I think, in a ladder situation. So yeah, it looks like Black Orcs, they took, that one group definitely took a bit of a beating.
They lost 6 models.
All right. Is that all they lost there? Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I need 11 on the other. So
All right,
Ushabti didn't fare too well.
They did okay though, for their cost. They are cheaper than Black Orcs, so it's to be expected. Yeah, look at them go. Yeah, you could also support the Ushabti with like a Necrotect, which will really, heal them, provides them armor, missile resist, a bunch of other stats as well. So a little bit of a downhill charge in these skeletons, but it's not the end of the world. Should be fine.
Yeah, it shouldn't really affect the stats too much, I don't think.
No. You can see him getting in there.
All right, so Ushabti not taking damage off the charge is going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Black Orcs do have a decent charge bonus for infantry. They actually have a 30, so it's more than the Ushabti who are monsters. A true testament to the grit of the boys. we can fast forward it if you want.
Black is the new green. Yeah, we can do fast forward.
Yeah, we see how it goes. These Black Orcs, man, they are durable folk. Look at that. And
man.
In the other testing video I worked on, we did. Oh, it looks like there's he just got a Realm of Souls proc actually from having your units die. So you also got a little bit of a heal, which is cool. This is gonna be close. This is down to the wire.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I think on this side, the one that people see, my left, I think Ushabti will pull it out. Maybe. Actually, they might not.
Yeah,
they're gonna put it on the other side.
This is like an eye-opening experience because I keep wanting to give spoilers from our games. Are you posting this before or after?
Let's not spoil it.
No, we'll keep spoiler-free. But yeah, Black Orcs got beat down on one side for a relatively similar cost.
Huh.
Yeah, that was Black Orcs, man. They're tough.
Well, either way, certainly if you're bringing Ushabti, that's how you're gonna want to use them.
Yeah, and they have mobility too, so like they could peel off from the Black Orcs. They could
maybe get
run
a
to another
flanking
target.
or rear charge.
Yeah, like you could pin a group of Black Orcs down with some skeletons, and then you could double team a group of Black Orcs with 2 Ushabti, clean them up faster than, the other Black Orcs then couldn't respond in kind because they're so slow. So there's all those, things to take into account for sure. That was a good test for sure. Got a little bit of a gauge of their power level, how to use them, and I think we want to test out the big boys now, the Necro Sphinx.
It is time. Yes, it is. You can bust out the Shaggoths, right?
Yes. So I'll bring 3 Shaggoths and then Kholek. And then if you want...
Do we want to do the Sphinx of Usek, or do we want to do Settra, Big Daddy Settra, and do the more friendly matchup?
Yeah, we can get Settra in there. And then we'll get Settra in the 3 Shaggoths, and I think that should be a good time for all. So the Warriors of Chaos, we're ready to go, man.
Now, definitely Jaff's Incantation of Cursed Blades. I'm going to want that. And then Nero's Incantation of Protection. We're going to be
just
testing...
take them all. Okay. Take them all. Yeah. I'll bring his items too. I'll bring the Star Crusher. We'll just make it nice and thematic. Even though he'll still be quite a bit more, I think. I think with his full kit, he's like 3,700 or
yeah,
something.
He's really expensive.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Crown of Nanakara gives you constant plus 10% AP and plus 10% weapon damage, though. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. And that was kind of the thing we felt about Settra, though, is just ultimately when our multiplayer games that he was a little bit overpriced. Like,
it's very
expensive. Like Archaon syndrome a little bit. I think he's going to be better than Archaon because he has more options. Like, Chariot can be useful, Khemri War Sphinx can be pretty good, and of course, some of the spells aren't bad in that Lore Magic. Probably a little bit more viable across the board than, like, Lore Fire. But yeah, I don't know, a little pricey for my likings. Would you agree?
I would agree that he is really expensive, and it makes him a fun sink if you... I don't like putting that much gold into any Lord, period.
Unless it's like... Krokgar.
Yeah. Because we all know Krokgar is kind of busted. And Swiftness
he's just a world beater.
Yeah, he's the best Lord in the game. There's no question in my mind.
And Mazdamundi. Like, with Mazdamundi, I'm like, oh, Banishment, Ruination of Cities, Cold Blood, Apotheosis, I'll take it all. Yeah. Take Nets. Like, he's one of those Lords that is probably worth taking everything. I think Mazdamundi... probably one of the best Lords in the game too.
I don't feel like I see him very often though. He definitely is really good. I just don't see people play him that much.
There's some really degenerate builds with the Lizardmen with Mazdamundi.
I believe it. Dude, Lizardmen in general are degenerate right now.
They can be.
I feel like I should love them, but it's hard for me to play them right now because Krokgar and some of their units are just so cancerous. Like,
yeah, they can be.
Million Skinks.
Yeah, those are the worst. I think the worst build I've ever played against on ladder that just made me weep. It was Mazdamundi, like 6 Skink Skirmishers. It had like 3 or 4 Chameleons, like had like 3 Bastillodons with solar engines, and it just like it was the worst. And it had Skink Chiefs. It was just like, that was the worst thing I'd ever faced.
Yeah.
So I'll line up with you here. Tell me to run my Shaggy server. We'll do it to it, man. Yeah, but Lizardmen, like, I've been casting a lot of like pretty high level tournaments, like guys who are just way better than me, and usually the Dark Elves or the Beastmen have been the ones to win. The Lizardmen have won a couple, but they are a pretty slow faction. I mean, the Beastmen again with Centaurs with throwing axes and regular Centaurs, and just they have pretty decent countermeasures against the Lizardmen as well as the Dark Elves with those really good AP missiles and stuff.
Yeah, do we know if anything's happened with Cygors or?
Well, we did have that game, and their accuracy, the first couple throws is really good, and then it seemed to kind of taper off a little bit. So I would imagine with them being such a hot button issue that they got a bit of a nerf. So. But Beastmen still seem very strong. Like, I still think they're going to be pretty competitive. Just from, like, looking at their lists. It was a very even match with the Tomb Kings, I would say. But, again, neither of us know what we're doing on either end of the spectrum. So once, like, competitive players get their hands on it and really kind of feel it out in a tournament environment, I think we'll really get a gauge of all that good stuff.
Yeah. How do you feel about this matchup? Who do you think's going to pull it out here?
Well, the thing about the Necros, I find that it's really close, but sometimes the Shaggoth will break due to leadership. But something else to take into account is the Shaggoth is faster. So there's, something to be said about that. I think they both cost 2,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The Sphinx of Usek is like 2,350 though.
Much lower melee attack also on the Sphinx, so it's not going to be connecting as much, but granted, it seems to not be mattering too much. The Shaggoths are just getting taken to Pound Town, it looks like.
Yeah, they actually share the same attack on the Regiment of Renown, but yeah, for the normal ones, it's, I think, 8 or 9 less melee attack for Necros.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see over there, yeah, it looks like leadership's an issue, so even if it is pretty close, it seems to just kind of go down to...
I stomped it in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And, that was something... When Italian Spartacus and I were doing some testing, we tested Star Dragons versus the Necro Sphinxes, and the Necro Sphinxes actually won several of the matchups against Star Dragons. We were like, oh my goodness. Like, it's no joke, for sure. So I think the one issue...
Did they beat Star Dragons?
Yeah, they beat a couple of them. I think like the Star Dragons won one of the matchups of the 3, but the Sphinxes won the other 2, because the Star Dragon would have leadership issues, whereas the Sphinx would just kind of slowly crumble. So something we may run into here is army losses.
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we just reload it? I'll just concede, and then we can just do the Settra versus Kholek one.
Yeah, we'll just bring them.
Because you're just gonna mass route once you got like below half HP.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready.
Just bring same units, and we'll just let them duel it out.
Oh, I didn't even bring. I just brought Kholek. You want me to bring other units too?
Okay, I'll just get rid of that stuff. Well, does it matter?
Yeah, just get rid of them. It'll be better. Mono.
The matchup. Yeah, so this didn't actually happen technically in the lore. It was never written about, but it was one of those ones that like might have made it into an end time supplement if they weren't trying to kill off every single dude, like all in the span of like 2 months. So like I think Josh Reynolds was the one who was supposed to write about it, and he said that yeah, in the lore it was supposed to be that Settra kills Kholek, but never actually got pen to paper, so hard for me to take it like too seriously. I can't really call it lore friendly, but it's definitely a matchup that people want to see. So Settra, 3,700 gold with all this Winds of Magic. I might be able to pull it out with some of these buff spells.
Yeah, Kholek's a much more strong combatant straight up, and also the Cavalry War Sphinx is meant versus infantry.
Yeah, that's it. You got bonus versus large, I've just got bonus versus infantry, so we'll see how
But if you spam those abilities, the damage and physical resist, it'll be pretty darn strong from Settra. Oh, Kholek's coming for those goodies. You ready for this? Star Crusher getting in there. We're just going big. We're popping them all.
Oh yeah.
And you got the Narrow's Incantation of Protection, and I'm pretty sure he counts as a undead. Yeah, he does on that thing. So he's going to get the healing from Lore of Nedakar, which is actually something to take note of. Like if you have Cavalry or Tomb Princes mounting those things, they'll benefit from Lore of Nedakar, whereas they wouldn't normally. Man, Kholek, man, you gotta step up your game.
So you're at 5,200, 6,500 right now.
Ooh,
definitely gonna use Blessed Blade of Patra.
Oh no.
So now you're blinded, lower melee attack. Ooh, that's big, dude. That's an expensive item, but that's pretty strong in a duel at least.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I feel like Settra though dueling is like I feel like a little dicey. I mean, but even on his doesn't Settra have like anti-large and AP on one of his smaller variants, like a skeleton horse or whatever?
He has skeleton horse and Cavalry War Sphinx and his Chariot of the Gods.
Yeah. Oh man, Kholek's gonna take it.
I'm getting beat up right now.
What other tricks you got up your sleeve?
Well, we started at low Winds of Magic, which is gonna be a factor here, because I was only able to do 2 casts before I ran out of mana. And it'll come back obviously, but it's recharging at a rate that's slower than what I need in the duel, but I still might be able to pull it out, maybe.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Kholek believes in a thing called love.
Oh,
what?
One attack.
What is this? Coming in with the steel chair.
Watch out, watch out, watch out!
I want to use Lord of the Storm on you, but I know it's stupid. Come on, Kholek. Kholek.
That was about as even as it could have possibly been.
Yeah, that was that even. A little bit of magic here and there is, all you need. All you need to get by, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Certainly, overall, I feel like Kholek is gonna have the advantage there. But if you invest everything in Killian with Settra, you can do it.
Yeah, and even still, Kholek probably would have routed off, outran Settra, and then rallied and killed him on a charge because Settra was crumbling. He had like negative 30 leadership.
He would have died for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But that was a good test. It was a good one there.
That was about as close as it could have possibly been.
Is there anything else you wanted to test out in this glorious video of ours?
Yeah, 1 second. All right, guys, and now we're gonna get a look at one of those units that I think people are most excited to see, the Hierotitan. I mean, it's just the model on it is incredible. It's so cool. Kind of a utility monster hybrid. It's got Spirit Leech. It's got Shem's Burning Gaze. And we're going to test it out against Giants. And we're also going to test the Casket of Souls out against Heavy Infantry for the Greenskins. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I deployed too far from you. Yeah, I'll waddle my Giants over. I think they're faster. The Hierotitans are incredibly slow. 32 movement speed compared to the Giants who... The Giants only have 36. I thought it used to be like 40 or something.
That sounds fast to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I was just wrong there. But here comes the first bombardment. Look at that. And I'll start marching them over, too.
Casket of Souls looks so cool.
It does. So I'm marching my Giants at the Hierotitan. So the Hierotitans have some cool utility. Fire can be pertinent, obviously magic damage, but their stats are a little bit lower in terms of raw. Now I guess they're more balanced. Look at that. 52-52 compared to 65-30. A little less weapon strength, I think. No, they're at 552. So yeah, but, their charge bonus is only 20, though. It's hard to say. I feel like the Giant's gonna win.
Yeah, I'm gonna soften you up first though.
No, use all the abilities as if they were dueling. Look at him shoot those things. That's so cool. You just like Kamehameha that right in the Giant's face.
Ha!
I have this like looming suspicion that the Giant's just gonna lay a smackdown on this guy. I don't know why. Their HP pool is very similar, and the Hierotitan actually has more balanced stats at 52-52 compared to 65-30. Here comes the Spirit
I love
Leech.
how they cast. That looks so cool.
Here comes. Yeah, and he's gonna zap him with lasers too. Make sure you get some close-ups of that. You can also see the Black Orcs getting blasted by the casket, which isn't bad, because the casket does have a secondary benefit. If you guys take a look at the Covenant of Power.
Covenant of Power, yep.
You want to tell him a little something about that?
It gives you a great increase to power reserve. So I don't know how multiplayer meta will shake out in terms of Casket of Souls. I have a feeling you're not going to be seeing it too much in multiplayer games. Oh, that laser is so cool. But certainly you do get an added benefit when you're getting more mana to cast. That can help you out in the long run. So definitely get some extra utility out of that for sure.
Yeah. I think it might be something you see. Like, just imagine, right? You have a Casket of Souls. You just put some cheap spears on it, and then you have Arc in the Black. Imagine how many more Fate of Venus you can spam if you have a Casket of Souls.
That's a pretty big deal.
But something about the Giant is I forgot to. Yeah, he only has 30 armor, so the Hierotitan is gonna, even though like there's a lot of the damage of the Giant. So the Giant is 550 with 400 of that being AP. So the other 150 is going to be mitigated by the armor. So I think that's what's really playing the big factor here. Oh, do you see that? Was that a custom animation?
What was the attack?
Like the Giant tried to hit the Hierotitan and it like, yeah, there's.
Oh yeah. He blocked it with his left arm. Yeah.
Yeah, it like gets stuck on his armor. That is so cool.
Oh, it just punched him, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just punched him in the stomach, like straight up. There are actually some unique. I didn't realize that. You can move your Orc Warriors towards me, by the way.
Yeah, you're shooting with the Orc Boys now?
Yeah.
The Black Orcs.
Oh, that's so cool. He's like Iron Fisting it up in here. Oh, dude, he did a laser blast to the face. Yeah, there are definitely some custom animation. That's awesome.
It is. So the Hierotitan costs, how much? 2,000? I think it's
2,000 or 2,100.
And I think the Giant is a little bit cheaper, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's 1,600.
Yeah, so it's gonna obviously show, but man, that was a spanking over there.
Yeah, he absolutely destroyed him.
Just canes him on the ground. Oh man. Yeah, so I mean the Casket of Souls, decent siege capabilities, 440 range, but obviously the big perk is going to be the getting the Winds of Magic, Covenant of Power. So it's pretty cool, and it does allow you to cast quite a bit more. From the testing I did, you don't run out, you don't get depleted as fast, so it's not faster regeneration, but it gives you reserve, so you can cast for longer, which is very conducive to the playstyle that you use. Just gonna go into the little casket there.
Yeah, I mean none of the animations between them are like incredibly flashy, but it's cool that you'll like bash them in the stomach and they're actually interacting. Punching
yeah, they're still fighting.
Yeah.
Oh no,
that fight's
lasers.
Going on for a long time.
Wouldn't it be cool if the lasers like cut him in half?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've been wanting. Okay, so if you look at the Necrosphinx, right? It has those huge side blades.
Yeah.
Literally, the lore behind that is they're meant to like decapitate giants and other big monsters. Like that's why they have heroic killing blow in the tabletop, because they're meant to like one-shot these huge monsters. They kind of have like lower stats to compensate because the HKB will sometimes proc and just let them like one-shot a Star Dragon, but
awesome.
Their actual like over time their combat prowess isn't as good as some other monsters. But it's unfortunate that they haven't done like Dismemberment or any of those like really crazy custom animations between monsters in terms of like killing blows, because that would be a really nice touch, I feel like.
Trying to keep it PG-13, I suppose.
Yeah, that's why there's already like getting jibbed and turning into little itty bitty pieces.
Of course.
So yeah, I don't know why this one was so different. Like there's almost 3,500 difference in HP between those two fights, but either way, Hierotitan definitely gonna beat Giants 1v1.
Yeah, more utility too. I see some fun builds with like Hierotitans with like 2 Necrotechs. Each one is being escorted and buffed, and then Spirit Leeching Lords with them, and like.
Yeah, they might be hard for the Vamps to deal with.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But again, Terrorgeist might be able to bring him down a notch with the anti-large bonus. But still, it's gonna be a fierce one, man. I'm excited for launch. Quite excited.
Alright, we're gonna do one final Shem's Burning Gaze here. He's gonna open his chest up and let it rip. Let it rip.
The KB.
Kind of reacted slowly there, but.
It took him a moment.
All right.
try to start out.
So yeah, I think that's going to be where we end the test here. I hope that gave you some impression of what these units and what the faction overall is capable of. I'm excited. I cannot wait till people start getting their hands on it and we can do some more multiplayer games and basically just be able to unleash this content to you all. There's going to be a lot coming your way when you see this. By the time you see this, there's probably going to be a lot on YouTube already, but definitely going to be a fun time.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to it. Thanks again for playing, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, see you guys.